Large Josh Thompson and John McCarthy offered their predictions for the much-awaited featherweight title matchup between Diego Lopez and Alexander Volkanovski. For UFC Gold, two men who were going in completely different routes collided. Following his devastating knockout loss against Ilia Topuria, Volkanovski has taken some time off the cage to fully recuperate both physically and mentally. But Volk is still incredibly confident in spite of the recent failures. He has publicly stated his intention to subjugate Lopez and take back what was rightfully his. But Lopez is an issue. Riding a surge of confidence and enthusiasm, he's doing really well. This fight is much more fascinating because Lopez has been looking unstoppable lately, and both guys are promising a dominant performance. Diego Lopez is being picked by Big John without hesitation. For him, the decisive element will be Diego's present momentum and best performance. Josh Thompson, meanwhile, is skeptical that Lopez can last 5 rounds because we haven't seen him in deep water before.
I'll take Diego Lopez all day long. He's that guy that he's right at that point where he believes in himself. And it's the way that he came into the UFC and who he came in against and the things that he did, since then that have said exactly, hey, this kid he's got it mentally. He is tough as hell. He is very confident in himself.
Volk coming off the 2 losses and the way he's coming off those 2 losses.
Yep.
Volk is also getting a little bit older.
Yep.
And last is the guys that Volkanovski's had a hard time with have been the guys that have good submissions. And Diego Lopez has got some really good attacks on the ground. The thing that concerns me with Diego Lopez is if this fight gets into round 3, 4, 5, will he be that same fighter he normally is in 1 and 2? Because John, he slows down a lot because of the weight.
Does.
We've seen it in every fight he's gone in the 3rd round. He looks tired.
Regarding the much-awaited hit between Michael Chandler and Patty Pimblett, Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo hold divergent views. Given that it is slated for 5 rounds, this fight is looking to be one of the most interesting in the lightweight class. Chandler delivers his signature knockout power and explosiveness. He has repeatedly shown that he is capable of giving any fighter in the division a fight, and with 5 rounds to spare, Patty Usman, who has trained with Chandler, may find his pressure-heavy style to be a serious issue, reminding fans of the threat the man poses when he locks in. He cited Chandler's 3-minute UFC debut versus Dan Hooker as the epitome of what he can do when he puts his head down and goes for it. Henry, though, has a different perspective. He believes that the UFC may be preparing a major move with Patty. He noted that Patty has been getting better and that it's impossible to overlook his back control and submission skills. In addition, he is taller, younger, and more agile. In terms of style, it's an intriguing conflict between Patty's inventiveness and struggle and Chandler's chaos and power. Furthermore, a victory for Patty would pave the way for some exciting bouts in the lightweight division, with competitors like Ilia Topuria waiting in the background.
We gotta put some respect on that dude's name. And he's only gotten better, bro. Like, I just feel like with Michael Chandler, I think the UFC know what they're doing. And they're doing a 5-rounder. Like, think about it, too. I think Patty Pimblett is a lot better than what we think. And I'm smelling an upset here. And I do believe that he could a win over Michael Chandler could put him in a really good position where he could be 1 fight away from fighting for the title.
Oh, Michael Chandler is no slouch. I mean, Michael Chandler when he came in, they gave him to who? Dan Hooker. And what did Michael Chandler do? Emphatic fashion. Hooker. So now you're putting this guy up with Patty Pimblett. When Michael Chandler's able to bite down and get going, man, he can really hurt you. He can really hurt you. So I like it. I'm gonna have to go with Michael Chandler here.
The Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira fight announcement that was leaked is denied by the UFC. One of the year's most talked about moves was Ilia Topuria's transfer to lightweight, and things became much more tumultuous overcast, ostensibly confirming Topuria's much-awaited 155-pound debut. The MMA world, of course, exploded, but not quite so quickly. UFC officials claim that the announcement of the contest was an error. In an interview with MMA Mania's Alex Behonen, the promotion explained that the graphic was shown incorrectly and that the alleged leak was untrue. The mystery still exists. Lender explained that he's aiming for a second title after losing the featherweight crown earlier this year because of weight cut concerns. And with a flawless 2-0 record in 2024, which included spectacular knockouts of Holloway and Volkanovski, many people anticipated that Topuria would easily defeat Islam Makhachev for the title. The other prominent figure on his radar outside Makhachev has been Charles Oliveira. Fans and commentators have been demanding a title eliminator. The smoke may still be a sign of fire, even though the UFC insists it's not official. Is the Georgian's next move still entirely up in the air? Or was this an unintentional leak of what's to come? In any case, the lightweight division is rapidly gaining momentum. There may be a breaking point in the relationship between the UFC and ESPN. Furthermore, Eric Richter of the New York Post claims that Dana White has already decided on his course of action. The disastrous Pereira vs. Anchor live event, which caused a great deal of anger due to streaming difficulties on ESPN+, was the last straw. Even boxers criticized ESPN for its frequent technical issues, and fans were unable to view the main program correctly. It's not an isolated incident. During large UFC events, ESPN Plus has a reputation for providing unstable service. Tensions behind the scenes are exploding. According to reports, ESPN is annoyed by the poor pay-per-view figures they're receiving from the arrangement, while the UFC is incensed by ESPN's antiquated technology. Pay-per-view figures are drastically declining, and not just for the UFC, according to Artior. Fighter contracts with pay-per-view points are becoming essentially worthless as a result. The UFC is now making every effort to land a Netflix partnership in retaliation. UFC is apparently eager to do everything in their power to make it happen, even though Netflix has historically detested the pay-per-view model. And when you consider ESPN's own trajectory, the situation simply becomes more complex. In order to concentrate more on the NBA, they just declared their intention to stop covering MLB by 2026. College football, the NFL, and the WNBA given the current dominance of football and basketball, it is understandable why Dana White is seeking a way out. The entire future of fight broadcasting may change if the UFC decides to switch to Netflix. Fight fans, how about you? Have you encountered problems before? Both spectators and combatants find it unpleasant when technical